had a really fun time on our date tonight.
I had a great time too. You mind if I walk you home?
Sure. Here's my stop. Well, thanks for walking me home.
Can I get a little something for the trip back?
Sure thing. Blech.
And just like that, I changed my mind. Hey Rangers, welcome to Super Important Views. My name is Steve. In this video, we're going over the NECA Pacific Rim Deluxe Class Kaiju Otachi, the flying variant. She is from the film Pacific Rim, mainly in the Hong Kong Brawl sequences where she ends up killing Crimson Typhoon, is a part of the game being that it is Cherno Alpha, and has an epic conversation with Gypsy Danger towards the ends of the sequence, where she reveals that she can actually fly in the movie, where she's standing over Gypsy Danger after getting her ton sack thing ripped out of her mouth, ends up trying to take him away into the atmosphere, and then Gypsy Danger just slices her in half, and that's pretty much the end of her. But one of the reasons I actually think it's cool that they released her is I actually been really wanting more kaijus to actually work with a lot of the Gypsy Dangers that I have, just because there's quite a few of them, and there's not as many kaijus as I would like to really be posing with all of them. So she actually seems like she would work very well, especially with the more battle damage Gypsy Danger that I have. And the other reason I picked her up is because Otachi, the land version, is actually my most popular video on this channel. So I kind of wanted to get her as a culmination of that video. So without further ado, for the packaging, it actually looks really sweet where you can see her inside of the packaging. Looks really good. You can see just how much of her wingspan actually takes up this entire box. For the most part though, the packaging is pretty much the same as what we got with a lot of the other Pacific Rim figures. But actually, and dropping one of my things, looking towards the back here, you can kind of notice that the backdrop inside the packaging is slightly different behind her. It's kind of hard to see, but it's a little bit more reminiscent of Hong Kong, where it has a lot of like purple neon lights in the back. Looks really cool. And that just tells you that she includes a flight stand, has a nice concept image of Otachi on the bottom here. On the side of the packaging, just explains to you that she can actually interchange parts with the land version, which I'll show you guys in this video. We can swap out the tail, the headpieces, the tons, a lot of stuff on this chick. Then for this side of the packaging, it just shows that she can actually carry Yegas in her stand, or at least the Yegas lay down on top of the stand, whatever. Also has translucent wings. For the back of the packaging, you just get a nice image of her with her wings spread. Also tells you that the Deluxe Cloud Otachi is available. Category 4 Kaiju, and some Lego Mumbo Jumbo on the bottom, and not a whole hell of a lot on the top. So let's get her opened up out of her cardboard prison. Alright, so now that we have her opened up out of her cardboard prison, first we're going to go over some of her accessories, which the main one she comes with is a flight stand, which actually comes in 2 pieces. You're going to have to assemble this, but it's actually pretty simple because you can see here there's just some peg holes on the bottom of the stand, some pegs right here at the top part of the stand. Now you just line them up. Big hole right there, small hole right there. You just insert it in once I get it lined up anyways. But then once you get it together, you actually, the other part is she comes with these tiny little screws that you have to screw in right here just to make sure that the stand is going to be very, very stable. Recommend doing it, even though actually, once you get it actually flush flat, it actually stays together pretty well without the screws, but I still highly recommend putting these in just for added safety measures, which I'm going to actually go do real quick, so I'll be right back. Also, I believe they're a Phillips. Alright, just want to point out real quick too, when you're screwing this in, do not screw it in too tight, just enough to where you feel the screws just start stopping, because I fear that if you put it in too tight, you might start cracking the plastic, which would be really, really bad. But here's the flight stand for her, which it's actually pretty elaborate looking. Like, it looks really cool. And then getting her on top of the stand, she looks so good flying on this thing. Like, it looks like she's flying in battle, flying away from battle. Looks phenomenal. But I have one little problem with this. Is you can see right now, she's staying on the stand really good. Looks amazing. Once I start shaking the table a little bit, you see she's starting to shift on the stand a little bit. But she seems to be staying on okay, but as you can see, she's starting to wobble a lot. And trying to get her on here, it feels more like a balancing act instead of it being very stationary and secure, which it's a little bit of a pain to get on here, but essentially it's pretty much where you have the wings position is how high you're going to be adjusting her on the top of the stand here, moving her a little bit. As you can see, right now she stays on there pretty decent. But if I try to say sit her a little bit higher up front, she starts wobbling. It's kind of a pain in the butt. So you pretty much just gotta find the right groove to sit her in, because right there she's now sitting there pretty perfectly fine. I would recommend, if you're going to be keeping her on this stand, to make sure she's going to be in a place where she's not going to be falling, or maybe the wings are a little bit more stationary, so it's just kind of like maybe clunking to the side of something. But actually, the best way I feel to actually keep her on the stand is actually you rotate this around and you take the grooves here and insert them right here around her waist. And it actually stays on there really, really nice. Like now I can jiggle that around and knock her over pretty good. But try that again, because I don't think I got her in there quite that well. All right, actually getting her position in there pretty good. She actually stays in there pretty well too. Like I feel like she feels a little bit more secure when you put her in like this. Still looks awesome. Like she's kind of like flying it up now instead of flying towards anything. But she seems pretty sturdy when she's actually in this pose. So if you're going to be storing her on your shelf, I recommend with the stand actually putting it around her waist. But what she's actually supposed to be doing right now is this is more of the position where she's going to be carrying the Jaegers, which I'll grab one real quick. So after bringing our Gypsy Danger in here, the only way I could get it to look like that she was actually carrying them is actually having him hug the stand for freaking dear life. Which, zooming in for a sec, you can see here, I got him kind of just wrapping his arms around the back of the stand and just holding onto it pretty much. Because you can see here, there's some grooves right here, but literally trying for the life of me to get the arms to actually stay in there, he pretty much just kind of starts flopping down, like even just squishing him. He kind of stays in there actually pretty decent right now, which is a bonus. Yeah, he's actually staying there pretty well now. But it doesn't really work quite that well in terms of just making her look like she's actually carrying him, because that's actually pretty far away. But what's actually really cool about this stand, is you can actually get him to actually look like he's doing his chainsword move to her, where he's about to cut into her skin, which looks pretty decent. I kind of wish, again, he sat in there a little bit better and maybe a little bit higher up. But overall, the stand, it works. It's suitable for the figure. Because I mainly want this thing to be fine in this position, and the only real feasible way of safely getting her on here is the way she's set up right now. But if your display for your Pacific Rim figures is in an area of pretty low traffic, it's actually pretty suitable to have her just sitting on the stand in the normal position. And then her other accessory is her gross flower ton, which actually has an awesome amount of details. Like, this thing looks gorgeous for how weird of a freaking accessory piece this is. But it's really cool. Like, I kind of wish she came with a little like newt, so he's just kind of like trying to dig for him in the subway. Would have been actually really cool. But getting this thing to focus, overall the paint job is this very nice vibrant blue with some very light baby blue on to give it that kind of glowing effect. Overall, I think they did a really great job painting this thing. And then how you attach it to her is what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab the ton from the inside. And then you just start lifting up, which this is the first time me actually getting this out of her mouth, so this might be a little bit of a pain. Alright, after a little bit of fighting, finally got this thing out of here, because, again, I almost got it out of here. Got it loose. Come on. Oh, it. God, there we go. Fudge my life. Alright, so initial problem with this figure is this ton is ridiculously hard to get out. And the main problem I'm noticing is why would you paint this? Like, you can see here on the bottom of the ton, they painted this section, and it's actually very glossy and slimy. Like, you think it's actually pretty easy. Yeah, there's a couple little grooves which kind of help to hold it in. I understand, but that wasn't necessarily hard. Like, I actually had to grab one of my little screwdrivers off screen to kind of loosen this up a little bit just to pop it out. But after getting the thing out, the ton looks pretty cool as well, which, on a funny note, grabbing the land form of Otachi, the tons are actually different between the two. As you can see, hers is just a normal flat one where you kind of see the part where the sack is expanding, where she goes to do the Hakulugi. Well, this is actually just more of a normal looking ton, so it's actually pretty cool that there's a little bit of a variation between the two. And then after popping this out, we're going to take our long version of the ton, insert it into the mouth here, apply a little bit of pressure, and it's stupid easy to get this thing here, which this thing looks gorgeous coming out of the mouth. Like, the actual like acid spit technique was pretty cool. but overall, it kind of had this weird bend to it. And personally, I think this looks awesome, where she looks like she's about to lick somebody. Maybe have your Gypsy Danger kind of like replicating that he's ripping out her tongue. And overall, I think that's actually a really awesome looking accessory for this figure. Also want to point out too is that after getting it out, the tongue actually pops out pretty easy now. It's just that initial try was just like, whoa. And then just sitting her over here very casually and grabbing my land version of the Otachi. What we are going to do is try swapping out a few of the parts on the flying Otachi to kind of get her to be replicating a more clean version. So what I'm going to do is actually pop the head off on this one. Because funny story, I did an unboxing video on my other channel, and her head actually was unattached to the packaging. But what we're going to do is actually swap these two pieces out, because I personally want the giant hanging sack to be underneath this one, which looks pretty cool. So we're going to pop the head off this bad boy right here. Another thing we're going to swap out too is the tail right here, which you just pop it out at the base of the section right here. So you're literally not leaving any segmented joints on the body here. And then we're just going to go set this aside. And we're going to take off the neck joint of our flying Otachi. Comes off pretty easy. Then we're going to pop the old one back on, I should say, which goes on really well. Actually, that looks pretty sweet already. And then how you attach the stub is you got to pop off the gross severed section, which hopefully this is pretty easy to do. Grab it from the bottom, and then you just kind of start pulling on the sides until it pops out. A little bit of a pain to do. There we go. Ooh, that was a lot of pop. And then you just take your tail, push that right back on, and now we have our full, clean looking flying Otachi. And now she's on her flight stand. This figure, fully assembled with the previous Otachi release, looks so freaking good. Like, I just love how this entire assembled figure looks in general. Like, she is amazing looking on this stand. As you see, she's kind of like has this like look she's flying up. Even pose the tail a little bit, but my tail's a little droopy, but that's okay. But she looks so freaking good on here. And even real quick, swapping her position around, see if we can get her into a more just streamlined flight pose. Alright, after finessing the stand a little bit more, she does sit on there pretty nicely. Again, a little bit shady because you see she's already started to shift, but you can get her on there, and again, just looks so amazing just having her just like flying over the cityscape, which I'll definitely be doing some pictures with my little buildings. But this thing, just like this already right now, she is winning. And then also, since I got the land version out right now, here she is with the ton accessory on her from the flying version, which looks really good on this version as well. Even though the sack is expanded, still looks fantastic on this figure as well. And then grabbing out the severed head from my flying Otachi real quick, we're going to pop out the ton here again, which, there we go. And we're going to insert the Hakalugi ton, which goes in there really easy. Also looks really sweet. Even though she doesn't have the sack portion right here, but you can just kind of say that it just deflated to eject the acid out of her mouth. Looks really cool on her as well. And then putting on the original ton too, you can also swap it off for the more fat ton, or the thin ton on the land Otachi head. And then going over the sculpt on our flying Otachi, head sculpt looks really, really good. Really love all the molded details. You can see her skeletal nose looks awesome. Love the bone color for the teeth. Eyes look very piercing, and with the yellow eyes and the black pupils, she looks very menacing. What's also really cool is you'll notice on her lips, she has a lot of very light, more of a teal color, which is to help replicate all the blood that she was spewing up when Gypsy Danger ripped out her tongue, which is really awesome. One little complaint though is on mine, I can't seem to get the mouth to close all the way, so she always seems to have that little bit of a split. But then again, during the later portion, she pretty much had her mouth open the majority of the time, especially when she was like, oh, just spewing blood and lights everywhere. So it's not a major deal, especially since the paint job on the inside of this mouth looks awesome. Love all the teal and dark blue. Really helps to give that nice bioluminescence look. You can see some of the lights bumps on the tongue with some white paint on those. Looks awesome. And actually grabbing the land Otachi head, you can see here that the inside of the mouths are actually painted very differently. Where this, it's more in sections how they painted it, where it's more of like the teal goes into the more dark blue, and then this is pretty much all dark blue. While on our flying one, it's actually kind of speckled, which I actually like a little bit better because it helps to just replicate the lighting effect a little bit more. Now, my one major complaint on the entire head sculpt, which I can't really say it's a major, but it's there, is turning your head to the side. You'll start noticing that, especially when you move the mouth up to close it, you can see the end section of the tongue here, which actually doesn't really look all that great, to be honest. Because this part, even when I rewatched the film just to make sure that this wasn't actually a thing. This should actually be the same color texture as the rest of her skin here, which is this really nice kind of dark, like really dark green with some black strung about here and there. Looks really awesome. But this actually should be the same shade of color and not the same as the tongue on the inside. And you can see here, it kind of, the jaws hide it pretty well, but you can still see some of the blue here from the rest of the inside of the mouth, which again, should be the same texture of skin. And pretty much from right here, because this would be where you would have the mouth be closing, I really wish that they would have painted it the same, just to not really throw off the color scheme. And it just doesn't really look all that great, to be honest. Like, it's not super bad, because half the time I'm going to be posing her from the more at an angle or flying up high or looking down. But if you have her looking up, it doesn't look quite as good, to be honest. Like, you can kind of, I guess, pull off that this kind of looks more like a bloody effect, and maybe it's just like the blood's kind of spewing out from the back of her mouth. But I really wish that they would have just colored it the same as the rest of the skin. Would have looked a little bit more film accurate. It's not horrible, but it's there. And then, for the body, you can see here where she has the same kind of slashes that she got from Crimson Typhoon before she ended up crushing his head, which the paint job on there is actually really nice as well, because you got the same teal with some whites and blue to help replicate the bioluminescent blood that she had. Looks really cool. Maybe on the Land Otachi, because Land Otachi pretty much has the same kind of thing going on, except it doesn't really have the slash right here, I don't think, which it didn't. But I really wish on the land version, especially if they were giving it to the more slash version to us, kind of wish that this was a little bit cleaner, to be honest. Like, it would have been cool to have a really nice clean Otachi and then have this more battle damage kind of variant with the flying wings. That would have been really cool. It's not a big deal, but just something to contemplate on. But the body still looks really good. You even have the more yellow tribals on her belly. It looks awesome. You can see a lot of the rib cage texture. It looks really awesome. Same with the neck too. Like, she has one beefy, bulky looking neck. Now, the one difference you notice between her and the land version is that she doesn't have the giant, like, expanding sack below her neck. Grabbing the land version, you'll definitely see that that is not the case in this figure, where it has this giant bulbous sack. And the one thing too is you can't really see the blue on this guy because it hides actually really well. But since they got rid of this part right here and thinned out the neck really well, that's where this started actually showing up. The body overall looks really good too. You can see here she's got some nice bioluminescence teal coming along the back here, where they have these little sections right here. Same with the plating. Like, the plating on the back looks fantastic. Overall, like, just the skin texture and everything, like, they really knocked it out of the park with this figure. And then showing off her translucent wings look awesome. Really have a nice kind of skin texture to it. Looks phenomenal. You can kind of see my hand from behind, which kind of is very reminiscent of the film, which is really awesome. Overall, like, this wingspan is freaking huge too. Like, I should probably go grab a measuring tape to just tell you how wide she is. Actually, I will. Be right back. So after grabbing a measuring tape, her wings full span is about 2 feet once you get it to a more stretched position, which is actually really impressive. Like, that is a huge figure. Like, her wings upright are taller than the large-scale Pacific Rim figures. And just the rest of the details on here, like the claws look really nice with this jet black for the nails, or in these more relaxed position. Has this little nubby claw at the end of the wing there, looks really cool. And then for her feet, one thing I actually kind of wish, like, the legs look really good. I wish they maybe would have articulated her feet a little bit more, just to kind of get her in a more, like, grabbing kind of position where she could actually be, like, grabbing onto the Jaegas herself. So if they would have hooked her on the stand, she could have just, like, held onto their arms. That would have been actually really cool. But she just has these more like standard, just stand-up position feet. So when she's, if you have her on the ground, kind of like in a Rodin position, she can actually stand upright, which is really cool. And then her gross severed looking tail, which I say gross, but there's some pretty colors in there though. Then you got the same kind of more just light baby blue with some teals, dark blues, and whites mixed in all up in there. Texture and design looks really, really good. Like that looks like something was originally supposed to be there that sadly is not anymore. And then for her articulation, her head can look up about that far, down about that far. She can also look a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Her mouth can move side to side, also can shift up and down because they are on a ball joint, so you get a lot of play with the inside of her mouth here. Her upper part of her neck can also not really rotate all that much, side to side anyways, but they can actually rotate a bit because it's on a ball joint, but it pops off really easy when you try to actually like shimmy it side to side. So you get a little bit of a rotation here. And then for her wings, freaking ginormous wings, the wings can move, the upper part of the shoulder can move up about that far, down about that far, grabbing the wings outward. They can move down about that far, up about that far, so you can get a pretty cool flapping motion for you stop motion people. And then for the upper part of the elbow here, can bend in about that far, stretch out about that far, has a little bit of a rotation here, but the wing kind of gets stopped by the under part of the section here, but you can get a pretty good rotation. Same with the shoulder joint here, can rotate as well, because I forgot about that, but it can rotate all the way around. And then for the hand, can rotate about that far back, about that far under, and can move a little bit up and down, which is really cool because it's not a ball joint. And for her waist, can rotate about that far to the side, and then this far back. Also has a little bit of a wiggle to it. You just got to work the joint a little bit so you can get her to rotate a little bit. And then for her legs, can bend all the way back, touching the wings. Can also do a pretty good kick. Can squeeze inwards about that far. Can stretch outwards about yay far. And then for her knee, can bend out about that far, bend in that far. Has a rotation at the knee. I think it can rotate all the way around. For the feet, can also rotate all the way around and has a little bit of a bend to it because it's on a ball joint and has a little bit of a wiggle as well. And then finally for her little stump, actually has a little bit of articulation as well where you can shimmy it side to side and move it slightly up and down. And for some quick comparisons, this just show you guys a full body shot of the two Otachis together. Here she is with the land version of Otachi. And here she is with some of the Jaegers she fought in Pacific Rim with Hong Kong Brawl Gypsy Danger and the original release Striker Eureka. And here she is with some of the Kaijus from Pacific Rim with the Battle Damage Knife and the Rubber Baby Otachi. And here she is with some SH Monster Arts figures with the SH Monster Arts Fire Rodin. And I finally acquired this guy from G-Fest, the SH Monster Arts Burning Godzilla. And here she is with some Japanese Bandai vinyls I got from G-Fest with the Orga figure from Godzilla 2000 and Legion from Gamera 2. And here she is with Failhead. So overall, the Flying Otachi, I think this figure turned out pretty awesome. Love the details on it. The paint job turned out really good as well. Even with the small hiccup around the neck, still like it. Really like the accessories with it too. Even though the stand could have been maybe done a little bit better, it's still very serviceable. And the thing I love most about this figure is that you can change parts in between the flying version and the land version, so you can make your ultimate Otachi. So in the end, I really do recommend this figure for you guys, especially if you guys own the land version and love Pacific Rim, then you need her soaring into your collection today. So what do you guys think? Have you guys picked up the Flying Otachi? What's your favorite Otachi or Japanese kaiju is just more your thing? Please let us know in the comments. Let us know closer pictures over on Facebook. You want to click the link in the description below. Help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button. Subscribe to become a ranger today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Hey guys, welcome to Super Important Reviews. My name's Steve, and I've been sick, which is actually the main reason why I haven't been putting out a lot of videos lately, especially after Ultraman. Because I actually got really sick after doing that figure review, and today is the first day I've actually been able to get on my bed and actually talk, so I wanted to get a figure review done for you guys. And sadly, I wanted it to be the new Shining Gundam, which I have right here, but the one I got from Amazon actually is missing a piece of armor right here on the upper part of his left arm, which is a little bit of a sad note because I'm trying to get a hold of the seller right now to see if I can be able to return this to get a new one, because I want to do a review, and I want to do the review with everything to accurately represent the figure. And it can't really do that right now, and maybe even just get a partial refund, because if I pop that little guy off, it kind of evens everything out. Wouldn't really bother me too much. But until I get that problem situated, I'm not going to be putting a figure review of this guy anytime soon. But I do actually have another figure to do, which is the rubber baby Otachi from Pacific Rim, and oh my god, this thing does not stand up well. Finally picked this bad boy up from Toys R Us, because they actually got him in, and it wasn't really a figure I really wanted to order, because I wasn't really that excited about it, but once I saw it at Toys R Us, decided to pick this guy up anyways. Thought it'd be a nice little fun review to do. So without further ado, for the packaging, it's actually a lot different than I was originally expecting, because it's just this cardboard back with the clamshell over top of the baby Otachi here. It's actually kind of cool, because you actually see the figure pretty well inside of the packaging, which is really nice. I actually kind of want to keep this guy on the card, but we're going to have to remove him from his prison to do the review. But the background is what you see on a lot of the other Pacific Rim figures. And on the bottom here, it tells you that he is the rubber baby Otachi figure for ages 14 and up. Nothing too much here at the top other than the Pacific Rim logo. And then on the back of the packaging, you just get a nice image of the rubber baby Otachi. Get the deluxe Otachi that is also available right now. And the flying one should be coming out soon, and can't wait for that guy. And also he is a Category 4 kaiju, which is kind of weird because he's just a baby, so don't think he's really that dangerous, you know. And then some Lego mumbo jumbo here at the bottom. So let's get this guy open up out of his cardboard prison. Alright, so now that we have the baby Otachi open up out of his cardboard prison, this guy is disgusting, but in a good way, because this guy's pretty much all rubber, except there is a little bit of wire inside of the tail, and it's a little bit more sterner back here because it's a lot more thicker than, say, the arms and the chest cavity here, and same with the head. So when you're just kind of messing around with him, he flails around a lot, which is actually pretty sweet, especially this unattached umbilical cord, which is actually really cool. I really like that how pliable this guy is. Really makes him a lot more reminiscent from the film, because that monster was kind of gross and grody and very mushy looking, and so is this figure, which actually works out really well. And then bring this guy for a closer look. Head sculpt actually turned out very nice, especially for this entire figure being made out of rubber. They actually got a lot of very solid details on this guy. Where you can see for the eyes here, they actually look really good with this nice painted yellow, white, and some dark purple for the pupil here. It looks really good. Then for the head, you get a lot of the Otachi textures, where you have this really awesome looking nose, very skeletal looking with the little bit of a crest right here at the tip of the nose. His teeth have this really nice bone color, which looks really good, especially it's very nicely painted, especially for this being on rubber. Inside of the mouth, you get this nice baby blue with this very light blue for the tongue here. Looks really good. One thing I actually would have really loved for this figure, though, is maybe have a little bit of a light up gimmick in here. Because in the film, he's kind of like crawling out of his mom. He's like, and you just see lights and saliva everywhere. I think it would have been really cool, especially with this guy being rubber. Maybe having this little gimmick where you squeeze the body and it triggers the light inside of his mouth. I think that actually would have been really sweet, and I would actually pay it a little bit extra just to be able to have that gimmick. But sadly, other than the whole gelatinous rubber effect, that's really all we got out of this figure. But detail-wise, it still looks really nice inside of that mouth. The rest of the details in the mouth look really good too, where you have his split jowls right here. A little bit of details on the side of the mouth here, where you can see where the gum is for the teeth. Looks pretty sweet. And then moving down the neck, you get his wrapped around umbilical cord around his neck, which is actually something that looks like to me is actually slid over his neck, because this part actually isn't attached to the neck at all. So this actually seems like it could be removable, but I'm not going to really mess around with this, because for one, I kind of fear that this would actually snap if I try to get this off, and this is the way he looks in the movie, so I'd keep it on regardless. But the umbilical cord actually looks really nice around his neck. Has a lot of very gross textures. It's a nice blood red color. You even get a little bit of the texture of the umbilical cord snipped at the end here. Looks really sweet. Then coming down for the rest of the body here, looks really good, where you get this nice dark grayish purple coming along the back here. Some purple here for the bioluminescence for each of these little holes here, which actually looks very nice. Again, very reminiscent of the film, with the platings right here coming down along the back here. And then you also have his underdeveloped wings slash arms, where they actually have a lot of very nice textures here, where you kind of see the premonitions of where the wing would be, but it's not quite developed here yet, especially right here for the little segment line here. Hands look very gnarly with these really sharp looking nails, ready to attack other little baby kaijus and yugas. And then moving down the rest of the body here, you can see his underdeveloped legs here, which are just kind of little toenails. They're just kind of protruding out of the lower portion of his body, which again looks really gross. Especially you can see right here for the rib cage here, for his undersection here. His little nubs, which I'm not 100% where what they are, but cool nonetheless. And then you get his tail right here with these little spikes kind of sticking out of the side here. His underdeveloped little grabber claw at the end of his tail here, which just kind of looks odd per se. It's even got like a little hole right here for like where like the little mouth section would be, so it's a little different looking. And a nice smooth undersection of the tail with some copyright information. So overall for the details, really actually impressed with this guy, especially again being made out of rubber. He actually has a lot of very nice details. And then for his articulation, other than just pretty much, since he's rubber, you can pretty much just bend everything. It just kind of all sits back into place however you're going to want to move it. So that's pretty much what you get for the articulation, except for the tail here. Actually has a wire inside of here, so you kind of actually get a little bit of articulation out of this. And you just gotta kind of work the joint and bend it in there. So you can actually get the tail to bend and it'll actually stay in that position. And you just keep kind of messing with it just to get it to bend how you need it. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but it is doable. It's just kind of, just gotta keep messing with it till you get it exactly how you want it. And what's actually kind of neat too is you can actually work some way of actually not having your hand in here in the movement. He actually kind of moves around very reminiscent of the movie where he's just kind of like flailing around and just flopping out of his mother's tummy, getting ready to eat some Ron Perlmans and just nom 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 nom. So for some quick comparison, here we have the rubber baby Otachi next to the Big Mama Deluxe Otachi and a little baby that she came with, which this guy doesn't really work in scale with any of the deluxe class figures, but who really cares? And here we have Baby Otachi with some of the other deluxe class Jaegers with Hong Kong Brawl, Gypsy Danger, Horizon Brave, and Coyote Tango. And here is some of my other baby kaijus in my collection with the 1998 Baby Treadmaster Godzillas. And finally here we have the Baby Otachi with the 18-inch tall Gypsy Danger, which actually in terms of scale, this actually works really well for me. So overall with the rubber Baby Otachi action figure, I actually like this figure a lot. It has a lot of very solid details, and especially for it being primarily made out of rubber, it actually really helps to give it that more authentic feel. But the main problem with this figure is it doesn't really work in the scale of most of the normal Pacific Rim action figures, except for the 18-inch line, which actually sizes up pretty well for me in that regards. But there's not like an Otachi to really go with that line, so it's kind of hit and miss in that regards. So mainly if you're going to be buying this action figure in terms of a collectible and want this figure to last for the long haul, I actually would recommend leaving it inside the packaging just because then you don't really have to worry about the wear and tear of the rubber. And also, I actually enjoy it being inside the packaging because you actually get a very nice clear view of the figure from inside of it. But if you like really weird action figures and want something a little bit more unique for your collection, then by all means, let this guy open up out of his prison. So what do you guys think? Have you guys picked up the rubber baby Otachi? What obscure action figures would you like to see from Pacific Rim? Or would you prefer a more 18-inch scale Otachi? Because I know I would. Please let us know in the comments. Let us closer pictures on Facebook. You want to click the link in the description below. Help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button. Subscribe to become a ranger today, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye-bye. You miss me? Off! Alright, cut. Just no.
What's the problem?
This just isn't working for me. Like, we gotta replace you.
But I've been working.
You're just not working for me. We need something a little bit more intimidating.
Sup, nerd?
Nope. This is your replacement.
How's it going, bitches?
Hey guys, welcome to Super Important Reviews. My name's Steve, and in this video we'll be going over the NECA Pacific Rim Kaiju Axehead, which is the concept version of Trespasser, and I know this might seem a little bit weird and maybe just being some kind of a cash grab for NECA just to come and take our money because they really love it. But to me, this guy actually seems really sweet because, especially with him being a concept, it's more of an early iteration of the character before they actually got into production with releasing Trespasser. So to me, it seems pretty cool to get this guy just to have some kind of differentiation between the characters on your shelf, just to show you this is what he could have been, and this is what he was. And to me, that's a pretty neat idea to go with, and there seems to be a decent amount of variation between him and the other one, so it kind of helps to merit a purchase, while with the new knife head that's coming out with this guy, that guy seemed definitely a lot more of a pass, because there's literally no difference between that and my battle damage one. other than just him not actually having the paint for the battle damage, which kind of takes it away from the coolness of him. And also, they're going to be releasing a Gypsy Danger to go with that version of the battle damage knife head. So to me, that just seems like the one to really have more than the other one. So that guy's just kind of meh. But he actually seems pretty sweet, so that's the main reason why I picked him up. But for the packaging, really love the box here over the plastic. Really nice clean look. Really love the window packaging up here. Also has on the top. Really scuffed up, but what you gonna do? And also up here, just tells you he's a concept figure. For the side here, really nice image of Trespasser here. And also up here, it doesn't tell you what his category is, because again, he wasn't in the film, so there's no really way to categorize him. Other side here, literally the exact same thing. For the back, more of the same, but it also tells you the other kaijus you can get with Leatherback, Knifehead, and Trespasser. And then on the bottom here, just some Lego Mumbo Jumbos. And that's pretty much it. Let's get him open up out of his cardboard prison. Twisty Ties, you are literally the bane of my existence. So now that he's opened up out of his prison, the best way to show you guys just what they all changed with Axehead here is to literally just compare the two guys. And you'll notice right off the bat that the overall, the way the body is designed is slightly different, especially with the color palette. With him being a lot more browner in, with the light brown here on the front, and the more dark browns and blacks on his scales. And also, he has a lot of the yellow tribal here. While on him, he definitely has a lot more of a green palette with the black covering his scales here. And also has the teal on the front of his body here. And also has a lot of these little yellow dots here, which give him a really distinct look in comparison with him. And overall, I think it turned out really nice. And even here you can see he's got the blue here on the scale pads here on his legs, while his is very plain looking in general. So overall, with the overall color, I think he turned out really nice. I still really love the overall tribal look on here, but with him, it's a nice differentiation going on. So next I'll show you guys what they changed with the head here, which there actually is quite a bit difference between the two. And as you can see with the overall eye placement here is very different between the two, with his eyes actually going a lot more towards the back of the head, while his on Trespasser is very front facing. So that's actually a very distinguishing different look between the two. And it's really sweet, and overall I really like that. You can even see here too with the mouth here, it's very gnarly looking on Axehead here, and even on the inside the tongues are painted different. So that's really nice. Even like on the nose pieces here, like his definitely has a lot more of an indent, while Trespasser looks fairly normal. And with the crest here, Trespasser here is very flat and has a little bit of painted details on here. Well, his is a little bit more detailed. With what you can see here is it has a little indent here and also bends in right here, which is very nice. And then on the back of the heads, with their crest here, he has 4 spikes on his head compared to the 2 just on Axeheads. So there's actually a lot of very different molded details on here. Another really noticeable one here too is with the blades here on the heads. But Trespasser's looking very clean, nice, and ready to cut somebody up. While on Axehead, that looks very archaic, like he's just gonna go BC on your butt. Like he's just been smashing his head into the side of a rock just to get this more ancient kind of wear going on. And it looks very nice. And overall, I'm very impressed with the way his head sculpt turned out. And next you can see here with the hands, they're very different as well. With his being the same as what we got with Knifehead, while his is actually the same as what we got with Scunner. Not Schooner, but Scunner. And overall, I'm not as big of a fan of these hands because they just kind of, to me, look very puppy-ish and something I imagine would be more of like a swimming pose where he's like swimming in the water. And I love these versions with just being very gnarly looking and just ready to mess somebody's day up. So overall with the hands, I really do love Trespassers more, but it still gives a nice variety between the two. So for the backpacks, I really love Trespassers just because of how freaking enormous it is, and really just to help make him look more of an intimidating character and just bulk up the size of him. While on Axehead, it doesn't look so bad, because it's very reminiscent of what we got with Knifehead, except for it has this really huge kind of tusk coming up here. It looks pretty gnarly. And also with the tusk coming across the sides here, you can see on this side that it has some battle damage on it, where it's just kind of snapped off. And that's really cool, even though I would maybe like to see a little bit more paint on in here just to show off the details a little better. But it's very cool, and especially with him being a concept version, I imagine this is where they got the idea for Knifehead's backpack. So the last major difference between the two is on the knees here. As you can see on Trespassers, it's pretty plain looking. Nothing too much going on here because it's pretty much the same as what we got on Knifehead. While on his, he has these like upside down raptor claws, which I imagine he'd just be kneeing it into Yeaga's tummies and just causing a lot of damage. It has this nice gloss black paint. And what's also nice is you don't have to really worry about that breaking off or anything. But I just love how it just kind of adds to the ferocity of the character. And it's a very nice inclusion to him. And just to show you guys a little bit more closer look on the details. Again, really like the head sculpt. Really like what they did here with the teeth. Look very gnarly. Tons purple. Kind of weird. Then for his body, has this nice green paint job on it with the teal on the front here. With the yellow specks here and there. Looks pretty nice. Again, it's a really nice contrast with what we got with Trespasser, so I'm glad that they decided to give this guy a little bit of variety. And then he's got his little hands down here, which look pretty sweet. I have this gloss black on the nails here. Then for his legs, you see here with the plates on his knees, have this blue highlights to it, which are pretty sweet. I wish it would have been not quite as dark of a blue color, because it kind of contrasts with the stomach a little bit here with the chest plate going along. So it would have been nice to see it be kind of reminiscent between the two. But, or even with the color going on inside the ton here. Just to imagine that the bioluminescence kind of coming off, there would be a little bit more similarities between all of this. But it's very eye-catching though, so that's one way to look at it. And for his legs here, we still really like the claws here on the knees. Gives them a little bit more of a fierce look to them. And then for his kaiju feet here with the black on his toenails here, look very nice. Also has some details under here underneath his foot pad. Then for his tail here, it's just a nice awesome bendy tail, which worries me a bit over time with the wire pop out, but I haven't had that problem yet, so I'm not going to worry about it till it happens. Then for his backpack here, looks really nice with the black here. Now what's kind of contrasting is that his entire body is more of a green palette, while here it definitely looks to be a lot more tan color oriented. So it gives a lot more differentiation between the body and the backpack here. Because especially even with, where'd he go? With his backpack here, you see it's definitely a lot darker here, and with the tan more towards the bottom here. It's pretty much the same in what we're getting here, so that's kind of a cool similarity between the two. And then for his articulation, his head can rotate all the way around. Can look up a little bit, look down a little bit. His mouth can move up and down. No ton articulation, sadly. For his shoulders, can move up, down, all the way around. For his elbows, not a whole lot of bendability here. So he still has the same problem we had before with him just wanting to snuggle everything and looking for love in all the wrong places. But yeah, that's kind of his problem, I guess. And then for his hands on ball joint, so they rotate all the way around. Got a little bendability to him. For his little arms here, have a rotation. Can move up and down. Mine's really stiff. Gotta work that joint in a bit. For his hands, rotate all the way around. Got a little bit of play with those too. For his waist, he can rotate all the way around. Has a nice little bit of a bend to it. For his legs, can move outwards about yay far. Can move forward, backwards. Let's bend at the knee. Yeah, there we go. Bend. Rotation. Not all the way around, sadly, but you get a lot of movement with that. And then for his feet, also has rotations and can move up and down. And this tail can do whatever you need it to. And for some quick comparison, here he is with the Power Rangers 20 Mighty Morphin Dino Megazord and the SH Monster Arts Godzilla 2014. And here he is with all the Yeagas in the film, with Coyote Tango, Eureka Striker, Cherno Alpha, Crimson Typhoon, and Gypsy Danger. And here he is with some of the other clones with Knifehead and Scunner. And here he is with Leatherback and Battle Damaged Gypsy Danger. And here he is with NECA's Godzilla 1994 and the Godzilla 2014. And here he is with Failhead. So overall with Axehead, he's a very good figure. I really do love the paint job, and the overall sculpt with him turned out really good. It would have been nice to have seen maybe a little bit of retooling with the elbows, just so that he isn't trying to hug everybody just like the rest of his brethren. Like, I don't really understand. Like, these guys are just misunderstood creatures. They just want to love everyone, and all the Jaegers got to punch them in the face. But that being said, it's still a really good figure, and I can totally understand that this guy isn't going to be for everyone, because he's not seen in the film, so I could easily see him being a pass for a lot of people. Because, especially if you already have Trespasser, like, why do you need this guy? But if you're a really hardcore Pacific Rim fan, and someone that really loves a lot of variety in your collection, I really think this guy is worth a spot on your shelf. So what do you guys think? You guys like Axehead? Are you guys excited about Otachi? Or you guys just hate these concept figures? Please let us know in the comments. We'll post your pictures of them on Facebook if you want to click the link description below. Please don't be afraid to share this video around. And if you like this and want to see more stuff like this, please give us a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.